With the ending of this episode, it seems that the entire universe is hanging in the balance just with this fight between Beerus and Goku, with the shockwaves just from their punches hitting each other and their ki blast. The fate of the universe is now in their hands on whether or not this battle will determine the fate of the entire universe. How is it going, guys? So I just got done watching episode 12 of Dragon Ball Super, and I really enjoyed this episode. And I feel like this whole Beerus versus Super Saiyan God Goku section that we're getting for this arc of the Battle of Gods arc has been really enjoyable. I've been enjoying this a lot since episode 10. Not saying that everything else has not been enjoyable, but just once the fight has broke out between Beerus and Goku, I seem to be enjoying it a lot more, and it's just so action-packed, and it even had some funny moments within this episode too. I laughed 2 good times within this episode, and they all came from the Elder Kai, so there was just so many good moments within this episode. And I just gotta point out that Sean Schimmel's Goku, his voice acting within these past couple episodes has just been outstanding. He's gotten so much better at his craft as Goku as the years have gone on since he first started out at voicing Goku, and I'm just watching this episode in amazement of even like the yells and the way he's talking and the different ways he's able to express with Goku's tone of voice. He does such a good job. So I just had to point this out within this episode, within this video, just because he's done such a good job, and I'm so glad to hear his voice back at the helm of Goku within the English dub. It's just so nice to hear. So within this episode, there's a few sections I just want to get out of the way first before we actually delve into the Beerus versus Goku fight, because at the beginning of this episode, we start off with Vegeta, who has not moved within the past 3 episodes. He's still on that cruise ship, looking up at the sky, watching the fight, and he's like, at this point, his neck is all the way up like this, like looking up into the stratosphere, watching this fight. And I love how Whis comes in and just basically talks with Vegeta, saying like a neck cramp is bound to happen with that, and he ends up projecting the fight with his staff that he has, and Vegeta isn't having it at all. He's not even paying attention to Whis or the giant like projector that he now has with his staff, and even Whis is like, Vegeta, why don't you just look over here? So that was a little funny moment too within this episode. Vegeta is just a stubborn character and is set in his ways, and once he's set on doing something, he just tends to do it his way. So that was the first part. The second part is the Elder Kai section. Now this part had me laughing 2 good times within this episode. Elder Kai is the MVP for me within this episode just because of his pervy nature coming out again. I totally forgot just how pervy he was back in Dragon Ball Z's like final arcs when he got introduced during the final days of Dragon Ball Z. And when he's like talking with Kibito Kai, just saying about these dirty magazines and all this stuff, just like the perverted nature that this character has. And then at the very end of the episode, this made me laugh out loud so hard, because as like the universe is shattering and there's this like earthquake going through the cosmos, Kibito Kai is saying his last farewells to the Elder Kai, and all we get from the Elder Kai is like, I want to give you something, Kibito Kai, and he holds up this magazine with this girl in a bikini with the top part off. She's holding her breasts, and he's like, have my favorite magazine. I was like, oh my god, this character is MVP right now, because that had me dying laughing. It just goes back to the comedic nature of Dragon Ball in general, because in the OG Dragon Ball days, you had Roshi being the perverted like character throughout everything, looking at his dirty magazines and wanting to see pretty girls. And then later on in Dragon Ball Z, we get the same thing with Elder Kai, and that comes back to the forefront within this episode, and it just had me dying laughing. I just gotta say, congratulations, Elder Kai. You were MVP of this episode, and it just had me dying laughing. But the last section, before I delve into the Goku versus Beerus fight, we get some classic Mr. Satan, Hercule, however you want to say his name. We got a classic moment with him as well, because as the shockwaves are going through the universe, everyone on Earth, specifically in Satan City, are noticing these shockwaves. And it ends up having to be so that a news reporter is on the phone talking with Mr. Satan as he's on the cruise ship, and he's dodging questions, basically selling them like with the fact that he is the one that's actually tracking down the villains responsible for this. He's fighting them, and he's going to make sure that everyone stays safe. And there, of course, everyone within the news and the citizens want to know more about his adventure at stopping the villains, and he's basically dodging these questions the classic way Mr. Satan knows how. And eventually, like as he's over there, he ends up calling Gohan once he gets off that call, and it's like, Gohan, what the hell's going on up there? You got to solve this right now. And Gohan's like, well, we're coming in hot. And you see that Bulma's spaceship is crashing down almost right on top of Mr. Satan. But good thing Whis was there. My new favorite character in Dragon Ball Super came in clutch, stopped the giant ship from falling on Hercule, and ends up saying, like, you know, this fight is not even reached its climax yet. So you guys better hold on tight because we're in one hell of a ride. So these were the different sections besides the overall fight we got within this episode. I enjoyed those a lot and got some really good funny moments. But now it's time to delve in this overall fight, and I just think it keeps getting better and better. And the animation I really did like within this episode, even though there was a few still frames, it still looked very, very cool. And what we got within this episode when it started off with the fight, Beerus is still toying with Goku. He's like right behind him. It's like that classic like scene you would always see when someone goes to turn around and they're just staying behind your back in a way. But Beerus ends up trying to go in for a sneak attack, trying to chop him on the neck again. But Goku isn't having it this time because his Super Saiyan God power is now reaching a higher level than it has ever been before. And he's able to track Beerus. He was actually like knew he was behind him the whole time and just toying with him, blocked his attack, and then once they like realized that, it's like, all right, no more fooling around. This is when the serious part of the episode and within the fight starts to happen because they end up clashing fists. Both of their fists end up touching like multiple times. We see these shockwaves going through the universe, and Elder Kai and Gabito Kai end up telling us that if we get 3 more of these shockwaves, the entire universe will collapse on itself. And as like we go through the episode, we see that Goku is like trying to learn how to match Beerus's blow for blow, so that way it nullifies the overall shockwave. And he ends up doing that within this episode, which I think is really cool. And it kind of shows that Goku, even though he sometimes can be seen as a stupid or dumb character, when it comes to fighting, he is an expert. And he even shows that to Beerus within this episode, and Beerus even acknowledges the fact that he is learning as he is fighting and changing his fighting style as he is fighting me. And that just goes to show how much of a talented fighter Goku actually is. But the one part I really liked within this episode was the whole dragon ki part. It's when they're charging up their ki, getting their energy levels up, and we see this aura of dragons start to appear. We see this purple dragon for Beerus and this red dragon for Goku. And it reminded me right away of Goku's ultimate move in the video games and also in the movie when he's Super Saiyan 3 and does his Super Dragon Fist. I saw that and it kind of reminded me of that in a sort of way. So I thought that was really cool just to see that like manifestation of their power as dragons, and then it goes back into their bodies and they continue fighting. And I just thought the fighting of this episode was really good. It's not as on par, I would say, as like some of the Dragon Ball Z fights that we got in Dragon Ball Z, but I think it was still impressive and I was enjoying it a lot. And eventually Goku ends up nullifying those clashes, which I thought was really cool, and it just shows how smart of a character he is. But then we get into the Ki Blast part, the final part of this episode, to where Beerus gets that atomic molecule-like Ki Blast, fires it at Goku. We get another Kamehameha blast from Goku, and they end up clashing. And this is what ends up causing that final shockwave and that blinding light we get at the end of this episode. And of course, it looked like Goku was done for, but Goku's Super Saiyan God power continues to rise and continues to increase in power level. And right now he's still going blow for blow, match for match with Beerus. And we're just left on this cliffhanger for this episode with this blinding light and the narrator basically telling us like what will happen to the universe once this light subsides. What's going to be happening to this fight? So I get the feeling that this fight is going to be concluding possibly within the next episode, but I think that these past 3 episodes so far have been great fight sequences for Dragon Ball Super so far, and I think it's getting better. It's reaching its stride. It's starting to look a lot better, and I'm really, really enjoying Dragon Ball Super as a whole so far, and I hope you guys are too with the English dub, because I think they're doing an amazing, amazing job with the voiceover, and of course, Whis, Beerus, all the other characters are putting in work to make sure that this English dub ends up looking very well. And I think they're doing a great job. So that's it for this review, guys. I want to hear your thoughts on this episode. When you guys were watching this episode, did you guys laugh at like the Elder Kai's moments within this episode, just seeing his pervy nature pop up again? And what did you think of the overall fight that we got within this episode? This is part 3 of Beerus and Goku's fight. Did you like them, you know, having those like blow and those clashes that they were using with their fists every time they would clash, and the shockwave would go about everywhere within the universe? And did you also like the part where their ki kind of manifested into those dragons? It was very cool visually, and I thought it was very impressive, and I was like, wow, that's that's a cool ass shot. But I just want to hear from you guys, your thoughts on this overall episode. And if you guys are fans of Dragon Ball and are watching the English dub of Dragon Ball Super and feel like subscribing to my channel, feel free to do so. I would love to talk with you guys about these episodes as they come out every week, because I am having a great time watching these on Adult Swim and of course on Toonami as well when it appears later on. So I'm just enjoying this because it's very nostalgic and it's like revisiting my childhood with Dragon Ball Z. So guys, I'm really looking forward to see if that's going to be the conclusion of this fight. But until then, I'll be back with my review on episode 13 next week. And until then, I'll talk with you guys then. All right, guys, see you later.